So it seems that I've been out of the loop for a while on the latest video game news because just this week I've been confronted with so many different articles and videos about loot boxes and video games. The suggestion being that the loot box play-to-win tactic is really migrating its way into some big titles. And this is of concern. I just saw Total Biscuit's video on the matter, and I would absolutely encourage you to watch it. I'll post a link below. And the idea here in most of these articles is that, we now have some AAA big-name titles coming out, whether it's Forza, which I talked about, or the new Star Wars Battlefront game, Shadow of Mordor, and of course all the sports titles. All these titles heavily investing in a kind of play-to-win strategy that directly affects gameplay, whereas I guess in the past it was always sort of tangential to the actual game itself. It was a skin, it was a costume, or something like that. But the Total Biscuit video talks in detail about the absurd pay-to-win strategies in the Star Wars game and this new Lord of the Rings game. And admittedly, these are two games I'm not that interested in. But one part of the analysis in these articles and in Total Biscuit's video that I think went missing is just the general assault on player confidence. So casting aside whether or not these schemes target children or target people with addictive personalities, or if they will bring down the regulatory might of one or more national governments, these are all real concerns. I think that when games shift to an overtly play-to-win strategy, player confidence in the game itself, in the experience, and again, I hate that word, but in the video game experience, has to be compromised. I mean, look at it this way. If the developers of the game and the publisher of the game has an incentive to manipulate one or more variables in-game to get you to spend money, why in turn can you possibly believe that the game is a balanced experience? For example, if I know that they want me to buy a pack of something to progress in the game, I have a reasonable kind of logical expectation that the game will have difficulty spikes and that there will be a sort of progression of enemies that will ultimately force me to buy the pack and to invest more money into the game beyond the $60 or $70 or $80 that I spent on it. If I feel like there's something holding, if I'm losing an online game, this is the thing with Hearthstone. While I really love the concept of Hearthstone, it was clear to me that in order to keep pace, in order to truly be competitive with people online, I just needed to invest more money into the game because I didn't have the time. And so you have that time-money crunch, that sort of predatory approach to both finite resources that makes you make a decision. Am I going to grind for 9 hours, or am I going to cough up 40 more bucks? Not a good place to be in, but it also got me thinking, at least in the case of Hearthstone, is there an algorithm that's deliberately pairing me with a player to whose deck I would be vulnerable? So these are all kind of, and you may say that's paranoid, but the financial incentive and just the regular behavioral economics of it all suggest that my inputs, that my behavior in the game is being monitored and possibly, used to get me to cough up the maximum amount of money. I think it's very possible that there is some sort of dynamic system like that in place. And if I suspect that, and even if there's not, if I have a reasonable expectation that the game is treating me that way and that my interaction with the game is just about monetizing my time for some heartless multinational corporation, then I personally have no desire to play the game. In fact, if this becomes a widespread practice, I will have no desire to play any modern game at all. So I think it's a kind of an ethical quandary for the industry, but I also think it's a business quandary too. I mean, there are a certain subset of gamers out there who I guess accept this and pump money into it, but I think the larger audience who just wants to enjoy gaming for what it is, it's a diversion, it's entertainment, I don't think that that group of people will accept this pervasive climate of being constantly nickel and dimed by some, puppet master behind the scenes of the game. So I think it could actually lead in the long run to consumer indifference and lost sales. Because for me anyway, if I suspect that I'm being actively manipulated by a game, I'll just go find another hobby.